Think different, live different. V180.
V180.
Hey, Mel with you today on the V180 podcast, and I'm very excited to be joined by Tyler David. Tyler's an independent Christian artist whose journey has been shaped by both music and faith from a very early age. He grew up in Indiana, and his music career was shaped by his father, who faithfully led worship in his own church. And Tyler discovered a passion for music at the age of 6 years old. He started learning piano, then guitar, then drums. Then he started studying music production, and he's now dedicated his gifts to sharing the message of Jesus. He has just put out his debut single, Such a Time as This, and we're going to chat to him more about his journey, his calling, and the heart behind his music right now on the V180 podcast.
Think different, live different. V180.
V180.
We've never had you on V180 before. So first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Tyler David, if we've never heard of you before?
Yeah. So first off, thank you so much. I was so stoked to see you guys were spinning the song. I reached out immediately. It was just so exciting to me reach out of my hometown, let alone across the world. So it's super cool, super surreal. I'm super grateful for you guys. So I guess a little bit about me. I grew up in a Christian house, and so Jesus has always been just very close to my heart. And what I like to say is music and like my love for music and my love for Jesus really just like grew hand in hand. So as I got to be a better musician, I got to worship Jesus in new ways and was just able to express my love for him in new ways, and vice versa. I mean, my music is a gift that he gave me. And so the closer I got to Jesus, the more I was able to appreciate my love and my passion for music and to really just dive in and lean into it even more. So those have just been very two core pillars of me for as long as I can remember. And I knew I had to do something about it. I didn't know what that looked like. And so I started to record videos. I put a couple videos up online, and it got the attention of the people that I now work with and, have surrounded myself with. And they've been instrumental in just guiding me to my first single release. And so it's just been a really cool journey that God has started us on, and I'm very grateful for every step of the way.
Wow, that's so cool. So where did this love for music come from? Is there some kind of influence or a song you heard as a kid, or did it start somewhere?
Absolutely, yeah. So my dad was a worship leader. As long as I can remember, he's always been a worship leader. Before he was on staff at a church, he was volunteering, and so he was always pouring his heart into worship posture, worship ministry in some way. Awesome. And so I always saw it modeled for me. And so that really helped to just show me as a kid and then later as an adult, a practical way of how to use your gifts that God gave you to point back to him. He was such a living influence of that. So he was really the one that started my interest in music, just because I saw Dad on stage, and then I really leaned into it and realized that I had the same passion.
So were you that little kid that was up there with your dad at worship practices with his pretend guitar?
Absolutely.
There's a few of those in our church. It's so cool.
1,000%.
I love that so much. So do you worship lead now at your own church?
I do. I'm on staff at my church as well.
Awesome.
And so I'm leading worship every Sunday at my church, and I absolutely love it. It just gives me an opportunity to be on stage in a different capacity. Because when I'm, doing the Tyler David artist thing, I was just talking to a buddy about this the other day, actually. If I'm, doing a concert as Tyler David, the artist, then my goal is to reach as many people as possible and spread the word of Jesus to as many people as possible. being on staff at a church, like being the worship leader. So when I'm Tyler, the worship leader on Sunday morning, my job is to pour into the same group of people week after week after week and really just develop strong rooted relationships with all of them. And so it's more of just a different approach. It's like a deepening in those consistent relationships versus just reaching the masses, you know?
Yeah, and it's good that you can find that difference, because I find sometimes with worship leaders, it's very different when you're worshipping to a congregation to when you're performing your own stuff to a random crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and even with, you know, when I'm doing a concert, I can't help but, you know, incorporate some level of worship. So the majority of my sets always have an element of like, hey, we're here to have a good time. We're here to party or whatever. But first, like, the reason we're here, the most important thing is to worship Jesus. So I'm going to take part of my set and just set myself completely aside, not do any of my songs, not talk about my story or anything like that. As important as those things are, I love to just set the precedent first and foremost. Let's worship Jesus together and then go from there.
So what led you going from growing up as a worship leader to then going, I want to do my own music now under Tyler David? Was there something that spurred that on?
I think it was a mix of passion, calling, and opportunity.
Cool.
I would say, I mean, we just talked about, I've always had a passion for music. And so, you know, come my last year in high school, everybody always gets asked the question, what are you going to do after high school? Like, are you going to go to college? Are you going to, you know, just go straight into getting a job? Like, what are you doing? I had no idea. I just knew that I liked singing and playing the piano.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Like, I don't know how I can make a job out of that. But so I ended up going to school for a couple of years for music production. Again, not really having an idea of what I was going to do with that. I didn't know, you know, I figured I'd maybe go into the church or do something, but I just knew that music had to be a part of it. And then, so that was kind of the passion. The calling came in, it was just kind of woven throughout, but like I said, my love for music was always parallel to my love with Jesus. And so I just, in my heart's heart, I couldn't do music without pointing it to Jesus. It didn't make sense to me to do any other thing. And so that's where I just really feel there was a purpose that was driven by God that led me to specifically do Christian music. And then the opportunity came was, I mentioned earlier, I was posting some videos on YouTube when I got reached out to by my team, signed a development contract, and was just kind of off to the races from there. So I'd say it was definitely, you know, God had his fingers woven throughout the entire process for sure.
So cool. So tell us about your track, Such a Time as This. How did this one all come together? Yeah,
I love it. So, the phrase "such a time as this," for such a time as this, comes from Esther 4:14. It's basically it's at the peak of Esther's story. She is deemed queen, but she's also needing to stand up for her people. And so Mordecai says, perhaps you were put into this royal position for such a time as this, really just encouraging her, like, God has you here, specifically you, for a reason. And that spoke to me. So, I mean, that speaks to a lot of people in a lot of different ways, but that really just resonated with me because, like, that is something that everybody needs to hear.
Yeah.
And in the bridge, I say it pretty plainly, like, God has you here for a reason, even if you don't know what it is, even if you can't see it, God knows. God has you here for this reason, for such a time as this. And so I think especially seeing the epidemic in this generation of heightened anxiety, heightened depression, heightened just like this overall lack of purpose. I feel like people just constantly feel like they're in this pit of despair and desperation. And so this was really just like this anthem of encouragement, speaking over this generation who needs to hear it most. Perhaps you were here for such a time as this.
Wow, it is such a timely song. Did you write it all by yourself, or was it a collaboration?
I am not even going to pretend that I wrote it all by myself. No, I was sitting in service on the Sunday morning when the sermon was over Esther 4:14. It was over that story, and so that phrase jumped off of the page right away. And then, so I wrote it down in my notes app where I write all of my song ideas or potential song titles. I just wrote down for such a time as this. And then I had some songwrites that were scheduled with some people who are incredibly more talented than I am, of turning emotion into poetry. And so two other guys, we just hung out for a whole day. We ended up writing 2 songs that day.
Cool.
And I was just a sponge. I was like, hey, this is my idea and my approach and my heart behind the song. And they just took it and rolled with it. And it was incredible to work with them. Really, pray that I get to work with them many more times. But it just seemed to, like, once we latched on to the idea and everybody was aligned of like the heart behind the song, it really just flowed pretty naturally. I feel like there was only 1 or 2 spots where we're like, what are we supposed to say right here? And then we would ruminate on it for a little bit. Somebody would say something, and the other 2 were like instantly on board because we just knew that that's what had to be said.
That's so good. It's so good when it all just naturally comes out. It's awesome.
Yes. Pretty instantly, we knew this one was special, even set apart from the other one we wrote that day. Like the other one, in my opinion, is still good, but this one was set apart, and it was pretty obvious from the beginning.
So I want to know about the other one. Is there any more releases coming? Are you working on a few songs that you haven't shared with us yet? What can you tell us?
Yes, I've got a fair few that are. I call them my basement records because my home studio.
Let's get them out of the basement.
Yeah, right. So my live shows have a lot of what I call my basement songs, my basement records. We are actively working on putting together a second release, and then
awesome.
I've truthfully gotten out of consistent songwriting because I've been so focused on just pushing Such a Times message as far and wide as I can. But I'm just recently getting back into songwriting and just kind of retraining that muscle by working it consistently. So that's the stage of life that I'm in right now.
Awesome.
Is diving back into the creative process to get more stuff on the platforms.
Amazing. Well, we cannot wait to hear more of your songs, and we should catch up again once you've started to put a few more out.
Absolutely.
Before you go, I like to ask all the artists, what is your favorite Bible verse? If there's one that's kind of stuck with you for your whole life, can you share what it is and what it means to you?
That is an incredible question.
It's a tough one.
It is, but it's not. So the first verse that comes to mind, besides Esther 4:14.
Yeah, I was like, he's going to say Esther for sure.
No. I would say one that's been even more pertinent to me and just how I live my life is James 2:17. And that one says, faith by itself, if it's not accompanied by action, is dead.
Ooh.
I think too many people live their life saying, I believe in Jesus. But even a little bit later in James, he addresses that same thing. He says, even the demons believe in Jesus and they shudder. Like, they're still demons. Like, they believe that Jesus is who he says he is. So faith by itself isn't enough if it's not accompanied by action. And I think I could go into a whole
so good
a whole Sunday sermon on this. So I'll restrict myself. But basically, your love for Jesus can't help but have an outpouring of action. And so if you truly love Jesus the way that he deserves to be loved, you can't help but change every part of your life to reorient it towards him. And I think that is such like the epitome of what Jesus, lived out on like his life on earth. And I think it's so understated. I think the Christian faith is so easy to just get watered down into the feel good or the, and just the surface level.
Emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I just love the depth that James really brings to light in 2:17.
Wow, that's beautiful. Tyler, thank you so much for your time, and it's been so great to chat to you on V180, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon when you put out some new music.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I would love to talk to you again.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.